You found us. What about this idea?
Gotta listen to this show. Why?
Because it's about the hearts and minds of entrepreneurs.
Oh, nailed it.
I didn't even look at the wall.
Nailed it.
I didn't even look at the
All
wall.
right, listen, honestly, this is a show. It's different than other shows about entrepreneurship.
It's real. It's real. Real stories.
Is it?
We tend to talk very real.
I love
And
it.
so do our guests. So come have fun with us.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to What About This Idea?
What about it?
Inside the hearts and minds of entrepreneurs. No, that's wrong.
No, that was exactly right.
Oh, okay, right.
For like the first time ever. You got it right.
Impressive start.
Inside the
I
hearts
know.
and
What
minds of
show is
entrepreneurs.
this? This is like show number 25 or something, and I still haven't gotten it?
I think we're 30-ish.
30-ish?
It's magical that it's 25 in your mind.
Yeah.
It's magical.
It's 2025.
Yes.
Too.
Welcome.
The year changed on us.
I see big things happening this year. I see
I do
really
too.
big things. I do. I think people, are either like trepidous. Is that a word?
It is.
Trepidatious?
Trepidatious.
That's probably more accurate.
Yeah,
that's it.
trepidatious about 2025.
I think so.
But I'm going counterculture here. I
Okay.
am. I'm going counterculture, and I'm saying 2025 is going to be. It's going to be a rock star year.
I agree.
Yeah.
Good.
I agree. You agree.
I agree.
I'm so happy that you did
Yeah.
agree with me.
I kind of agree too.
It's a great start.
It
It's a
happens
great
so
start.
seldom. I'm so-
25 years with my wife, I've learned to agree. Yes.
no, I felt like you really meant it. I felt like you really
I
meant
did
it.
really mean it.
Oh my God.
We always really mean it. Yes, dear.
Yes, dear. I know yes, dear means that you don't mean it.
Oh, you figured that one out?
Us chicks
That's
were
the
pretty
textbook
smart.
they get.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Us chicks are pretty smart.
I learned just, You got to do that one too. Yeah. Okay. We had I worked with a guy who his signature line was, "Well, I see someone taught you how to do that wrong." So he could get you with
That is passive aggressive on a Hall of Fame level.
meant, oh fuck, here it comes.
It's almost like he's not blaming you.
Yeah.
It's like he's blaming whoever trained you.
That's exactly
It's
right.
not quite you, but
Super
now
passive
you're the
aggressive.
poor victim of this bad training.
Yes. It's not your fault that you're so dumb, but here you are
You're an
doing
idiot,
that way.
but-
Someone clearly taught you the wrong way to do that.
Obviously, you
Yeah.
didn't learn from the right people. If you had learned from me, on the other hand.
I always liked that one. I thought it was pretty clever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Andy,
Yes, dear.
Andy,
Yes.
Andy,
oh,
welcome.
Schroepfer, I did it.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, thanks.
Rep for.
For once, do you see this? Your
I
hair
do. I
hanging
see my
off?
hair hanging off the shoe.
For once,
Makeup crew had the day off today.
where's
Obviously.
Where's all
Yes.
about behind the scenes people?
Yeah.
It's like
I mean, a
when
production.
We first went into our second office.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I'm such a princess apparently, because I'm like, what time do the cleaners come? And he just was like, there's no cleaners. We have to clean our own space.
The first office did have cleaners, so she could leave things, and it would magically
Absolutely,
be
right,
gone.
right.
Poof, the next day.
Right.
Yeah.
And the cleaner was the owner of the place.
That's
But anyway,
funny.
yes, Juliet.
Princess.
Just, I mean, even the fact that you are a Juliet, not a Julie, kind of indicates princess, doesn't it?
Was she a princess?
I'm
I
gonna
don't
go
think she
with
was a
that.
princess. She was just
Well, she was definitely part of a family.
Important family.
An important family.
Yeah.
I don't think she was technically a princess, no, but she was from wealth and privilege. She had cleaners.
she
That
definitely
is
had
definitely
cleaners.
privilege. Yes.
The Capulets.
She definitely had the Capulets and the Montagues. Side note,
Oh, yeah.
here in Minneapolis, if you go to JD Hoyt's, shout out to JD Hoyt's, who's not sponsoring us.
Not yet.
But Pat's last name, who's the owner of JD Hoyt's, is Montague.
Ah.
So every time I walk in, he remembers my name, even though he's seen thousands of people. He says, Juliet. And all my friends are like, oh my gosh, how does Pat know you? And I say, because he's a Montague.
And I'm a Capulet.
And I'm a Juliet.
Fades off to soft music.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a little tear come out the
Yes.
corner of his eye, too.
Like, Juliet. If I
Actually,
was only a little more soft and like Julietta, Julietta-ish,
Juliette.
Julietta-ish.
Well, that's the show.
That's it.
So, the Juliet show.
Actually, you have to say it in an Italian accent because that's where that's where it supposedly would have happened.
That took place in
Yep, I was there. I saw the Juliet
balcony.
balcony.
Oh, really? Okay.
And it's an actual balcony. It's not a Juliet balcony because the Juliet balcony here is not a balcony.
No, you just walk out
Right. No,
like
it's
one step or something.
we digress.
Oh, I mean, I think this whole show is often one large digression.
It really
into
is.
something.
We think we
enjoyable.
really come here to work things out, don't you
Yeah.
think?
I think
With
so.
ourselves only.
Andy and I were talking before the show. He was asking what our demographic was, and we've gone through this before.
It's like
not,
18-year-olds.
It's not teenage kids. We're pretty sure we're not very big with the teenagers. That's
We'll find out,
Every
teenagers. If you're
every
watching,
time we
this
do a
will be
show.
for you too.
Yes, that's right. Every time we do a show, I shout out to my kids, and I know they're not listening.
no,
Yeah.
no. So, but
Their friends might be.
Nobody's mentioned it.
not our friends either.
Or maybe if we talk more about sex, drugs, and rock and roll,
I
they'll
think
be
that's what people actually spend their time.
We'll dabble in that today.
okay.
All right, there you go. Yeah, no, we're talking about that, and our demographic is people curious about how you take your silly ideas and try and make them into something. right?
Exactly.
Or whether whether you're going to do it, or you might be thinking about doing it, or you've already done it and failed, and you're feeling miserable, and you're lying in bed thinking the world sucks. Why did I do this? That's you, entrepreneurs.
These are all the phases of being an
Yes.
entrepreneur.
Yes.
Would you agree, Andy?
100%.
And why would you agree? What
Having
brings
had
you here
a couple
today?
successes and a couple quick failures, once you've had a success, you love that feeling.
Oh.
Once you've had a failure that went on for far too long, you can detect that sooner if you're willing to learn from your mistakes. And then it becomes easier to iterate and fail fast and then have greater successes when they come along too. That's been my experience.
I really liked that.
I really like it too.
That
The
was-
only problem I have with it is that you have to know what your mistakes were. Like you have to know.
Well, you actually have to dissect it.
yeah, you
absolutely.
have to really like get in. Like what didn't I do
Failures
right?
are valuable.
I would think that entrepreneurs should be more evolved beings because of all the reflection and self-management we have to do.
Looking out at the world in general,
Yeah.
I'm not sure there are any more evolved beings. I think we are, one way or another, we are all pretty
This show's
base.
over.
Pretty base most of the time. I'm just
We are
saying,
going to do this show until we have
I'm going to get a lecture later.
a mass of evolved beings.
Okay.
I love it.
And I say that slightly in jest, but I also think that that's sort of the beauty of humankind. I don't think we would have entrepreneurs if we were so evolved, because we would realize, like, well, that's going to be painful, or the world doesn't really care about me and what my idea doesn't, or some other things. You know, like once we get evolved, we may evolve ourselves sort of out of the, like, I think I can do this. What do you guys think we should do this? And everyone's like, no. And you're like, I'm rolling off the cliff. Like,
God.
that's the entrepreneur sometimes.
I think though, as
Going to
evolved,
space might be the evolved version, according to Elon
Well, the
Musk.
evolved
Right.
beings would be like maybe we wouldn't need so many material things, so there wouldn't be so many ideas that seemed like good ideas. Maybe I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
But I think as an evolved being, you're more willing to go through the pains, because they're not so painful, because you can just say, oh, well, I'm an evolved being. It's okay.
True. Because you have to do that, otherwise you're in despair all the time. No, I see that. I think we're having a good conversation about the differences here. I think of us entrepreneurs somewhat as having a little bit more of the child still left in us, though, where we're like, everyone else seems to be afraid to do things. I'm gonna do it.
Oh, I see.
You know, like I'm gonna give it a shot.
Which is quickly countered by the everyone else must be doing this and I'm going to be the worst one at it. And then the next day you're like, I beat all those people. And then it's a cycle through of those
You're
extremes.
Right. It really is.
You're right.
A friend of mine always says, as an entrepreneur, one moment you're high-fiving. Like the whole team
You have to
is like
celebrate the victories.
high-fiving, and
Absolutely.
5 minutes later you're down in the dumps.
Someone's watching TikTok and they're like, oh, these people already did this and they're better at it.
Yes. And one of the failures you can learn from is that watch the right KPIs to go see what you failed at. If you were staring at your TikTok count, that was the wrong thing to be staring at if you ended up having a failure, because that wasn't your KPI.
Right.
I like that. Talk more about KPIs and how it went.
Oh, let's break this down.
Yeah.
There's revenue, there's cost, and then there's hopefully something left. If there's not something left after a period of time, that's a failure. So whatever the inputs are for revenue and whatever the controllable things are in costs allow you to have profit. So the derivations of KPIs have been fascinating. To make a long career brief, financial modeling of a company, you sell 3 different widgets, times that by a price, times that by quantity.
Yeah.
And you get an outcome. But when you realize how many different color choices there are in shirts, for example, or different sizes of shoes, you're looking at the wrong thing if you just say, I sold a lot of shoes. Well, I only sold a lot of men's 9 to 10 and women's, whatever the equivalent size is, there should just be one size of shoe. Anyway, that aside, those are the nuts and bolts of figuring out what is it that teased out a marketing cost, either a human or a consultant or a spend on a service, that led you to get that person to buy that green shoe from Merrill that I've worn in for many, many miles. That's what I've chosen to learn from my mistakes because one business was, I think, a grand total of a week before I realized that was just not going to work. And it took one meeting. It was called Cage Tweets.
Okay, wait now.
Yes.
This
Okay,
is
we got to back up.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
line.
No, this is good
Yes.
because we want to talk about the times that we failed. We talk about that. Like
We do.
So
That was
you
a
had
quick recognition, though. I would have
Yeah.
probably pushed it more than kept pushing.
yeah. Well, and how much work led up to the week of the business being alive?
So this was right when Twitter had started, within its first year, early enough that I could get what was called a white hose feed of Twitter. Mm-hmm. The company was called Cage Tweets. And the idea was for financial advisors that were using Twitter in these earliest of days to go share things, well, they could go delete them and make the public not. Now the public is able to digest that because it's always recorded and findable. But back then, I pitched it to a big wealth management firm.
Wait, what was deletable?
The tweet.
The tweet.
The
You
tweet
could
itself.
If you were
literally
tweeting
erase
something
the tweet.
about a stock, for example, as a financial advisor, and you put it out in the public domain, you need to have disclaimers around giving a public disclosure. There were no disclaimers on that platform automatically like there are today. So today you can tweet a recommendation of some sort and have all the appropriate legal disclaimers. Back then you didn't. So when I pitched this idea, I said,
What was the idea, though?
The idea was to be able to have them allow it to be deleted publicly, but be able to be secured in case there was a document disclosure of something that went nefarious, to be able to go find out it was that advisor at that time
Now
tweeting
you're
on this
screwed.
platform.
It's just all out there.
So it was called Cage Tweets.
Yeah.
But when I went there, I won't say the name of the firm, but a big financial services firm with the wealth management group, their legal counsel came back and said, we can't buy this because that would be us acknowledging that we know we don't have safeguards protecting our financial advisors from using it for said use that would be potentially legally sought after later. So,
So
I'm
the
just like,
lawyers killed your idea.
the lawyers killed the idea. Even the world of technology solved for giving those disclaimers the automatic insert into anything that you would share on social media. But
Sure.
realizing that just stone cold clear answer from a good enough firm that I'm like, I'm going to hear that for sure from the bigger legal departments. And if I
Exactly.
get the smaller ones, then I'm playing in a pool that I don't necessarily need to be in.
Sure.
So quick KPI of law legal is going to shut this down.
Gosh, now we have to have a law degree to be an entrepreneur.
I married one, so there you go.
Oh, there you
Yes.
go. See, I like
That's
how
an
you
option
really
as well.
you really noticed what you didn't have.
Yes.
And you went out and got
Yes.
it. It's super impressive.
Super lucky.
All right, but let's back up. How would you introduce yourself?
I'm Andy Schroepfer. I've had a wonderful career in technology and finance, and I've found a way to button that together for the rest of my career. That's
I love
my
that.
short answer.
That's a great answer.
Very succinct.
It also makes me curious.
Good.
Yeah. So technology and finance, and you've had enough successes and enough experiences that you feel like you can still play around for the rest of your career here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Finding something that is this open-ended, as I'll describe today, is just a joy to see something this untapped. So if this idea works, there is not only a career for myself for the next 50 years, but careers for many people. And that is my biggest joy of the company I built for 5 years and sold was the 10 people that I got to hire. Getting to know them, like becoming friends with their families and whatnot, and just knowing that I'm helping them provide for their livelihood, that was the greatest joy of entrepreneurship. And I believe I'm in a position to start that with this new idea.
Well, great. My phone's got the loudest vibrate function there ever was. Anyway,
That's a feature.
so yeah, I mean, I understand. So creating a position or creating a life in a business for a group of people was one of the more rewarding parts
Correct.
of it.
What was this company that you built and sold?
So after I was at Goldman Sachs and the internet bust happened, the world didn't want to believe analysts from Gartner for the industry analysts, and they didn't want to believe it from Goldman or anything in between on either industry or equity research side. So I started my own research firm, an independent research firm, a true, like the equivalent of the best journalism that you've had. And I wasn't even a business that you could subscribe to originally. I just started emailing the CEOs of all the companies in this industry that I had covered at Goldman and elsewhere. And finally, it took one CEO, shout out to Internap, who's been acquired since then, but their CEO just asked, what do you charge for this? And I said, brilliant idea. I threw out a number. He said yes. And then went to someone else and said, what do you think of this idea? Anyway, I built 170 customers out of that. It was a glorious 5 years.
Great.
Yes.
Classic entrepreneur stuff.
Absolutely.
Oh, you mean I should charge for this?
Yes.
You'll pay me money for this?
I get that I'm very lucky and blessed that that situation happened.
Yeah.
I love that. 170 clients. Okay. So there's not a lot of learning in that. It seems like
Correct.
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 That was straight to success.
Straight
Yes.
to
Well, after
success.
the internet bust, so this is late 2000.
Yeah.
Like no one cared. Like the world was just, what's the internet? It's not going to go on. And I'm sitting here like, I'm not the only one that thinks the internet's still going to go on.
Right.
Even though pets.com got trashed and one of the first ones to go to zero.
I remember those days.
remember that too.
And I remember them
Pardon
well.
me.
And I was like, I was probably one of the people, somewhere at a bar or something. I'm like, fuck that internet. Look, I told you that
Right.
stuff was going to blow up.
Right.
I'm such an idiot. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I was at the time building it was the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was working in educational institutions, helping them build their technology,
Oh, sure.
infrastructure and training and all of those things. And it really was there was a delay, right? There was a delay where the schools were like, are we going to have to embrace this internet thing and the computer thing? And to, oh my God, we have to embrace this. So it was like we went from a trickle of things we had to do to this massive wave because
Yes.
there was this pause.
Yes.
right when you were succeeding in your business. Yeah.
There's so many funny stories that we all have from there. One of the ones that I will never forget. So after leaving Goldman, I got the chance to fly on the Goldman jet.
Why did you leave there?
Why did I leave? The internet said no one wants to.
Burst you out
we
of
can't
there.
make any money off of you writing anything or having opinions of any kind. So that was the start of it. Worked alongside Anthony Noto, who's CEO of SoFi. Hi, Anthony. Good luck for your Notre Dame Irish. They're hopefully going to lose to Texas Longhorns, but that's an aside. One of the companies that had gone public right before the bubble burst was a company called Equinix. They were a building purpose-built to be a data center, which meant power was the biggest ingredient in it. But what people didn't understand is the interconnection of networks that they had created. They acquired a little company called Palo Alto Internet Exchange. PAX was its nickname. That's way too much detail to say. I was the lucky one that Goldman bestowed to be the analyst covering what I believed was one of the most important real estate companies, let alone energy companies, let alone cloud creator of the internet. I go to the shareholder meeting in this glorious, I believe it was in Rockefeller Center, one of the 50th, whatever, one of those beautiful floors overlooking. And the board meeting, the internet has bottomed. They're potentially going to go bankrupt. They just went public by Goldman. And I'm the only non-executive or attorney in the room for the shareholder meeting. So they adjourn that in a couple minutes. And the CFO pulls me aside into a room and just says, closes the door. Andy, he goes, it only gets better than this. And I'll never forget the slap on the wood sound that he had. We don't have wood here. Yeah. Because he was so right. And that gave me the passion and belief that the money side of the universe did believe this also, and there were better days ahead, and money will follow where there's opportunity. And so just keeping my head down and following through and letting the world know who Equinix is, and now they're almost a $100 billion company.
Yes.
It's been a fascinating journey.
I was going to say, that's either one of those
like
company names that sounds so familiar, or sure, I've heard of Equinix.
Sure. There's Equinox, the gym, beautiful, wonderful place.
Right.
Not the same.
Not the same.
Yeah.
They get confused, but not the same.
Yes. So did you grow up in this area?
Grew up in Roseville, Minnesota.
Did you?
Yes.
Really, Minnesota?
Yes, met my wife.
Did you go to Roseville High School?
I was right on the dividing line, so I went to Mounds View.
Mounds View. Did you play hockey?
I did not. I'm sure my height, which you can't see sitting down, gave it away that I was a wide receiver in football. Set records that were held for about 15 years. Proud of that.
Nice.
Did hurdles in track. Again, my height giving that away.
Yeah.
I did the 300 meter because the 100 meters were too high, and no one wanted to do the 300 meters. So the really fast kids did the 100 meter dash, and the slightly faster ones did the 200, and then the 300 meter hurdles were there for people like me that were gifted enough to get over a hurdle and get there in a speedy enough
Had
time.
some longevity.
So yes, absolutely. So I had a wonderful glory days, but that'll be a separate podcast that no one will watch. So yes.
Okay. Well, we want to know who you are, because that really feeds into the kind of entrepreneur you are.
Sure.
Like all of those experiences feed.
Well, then what I learned from high school in general and sports being a main part of it, I ended up going to St. John's University. That's where I met my wife. She was a Benny. And we were famous for many things, one of which was we had the most winning football coach.
Yeah.
John Gallardi. He's passed since, but I got to be on the squad in practice when one of the fellow freshmen ended up tackling him accidentally, and he had to be on crutches for that season because of it. So anyway, that was my famous football story, because I had 7 plays total in my college career. But seeing the 150 or so men that were on that team and getting to be a part of that kind of camaraderie, and knowing that I was a beast in my own head and high school football in Minnesota,
right.
And going there and seeing everyone else that was in state for football at a different school, it was humbling in a beautiful way. I got to know that it didn't matter, like first can be defined so many different ways. I was first for what I needed to accomplish, and what I needed to succeed at in college was not sports. It ended up being math that led me into, since we didn't have a finance degree, getting an accounting and econ with a minor in marketing to round out what would be the equivalent of a finance degree at this lovely D3 liberal arts school.
Yeah. Great school.
It was absolutely, I think, the world of that place.
Yep.
Yes. Shout out to St. John, St. Ben's.
All right.
I went to St. Cloud State, just down the road.
Yes.
Same.
Not the same. Not the same. I worked with a bunch of Johnnies. I'm like, God, you guys are smart. It's not just the smart part.
Yeah.
You
They're all
guys.
smart at something, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I still think this is true. There were plenty of very smart people at all of the different.
Yes.
But St. John's was where St. Cloud had 30, 40,000 students or 20,000, I forget, but a lot of students, right? And just pack them into the places. St. John's was like a community. That was St. John's and St. Ben's. When you hung out with those folks, you knew they were part of a very special thing.
Agreed.
Well, it was family-like, wasn't it? It was.
My father went there as well.
Yeah.
So generational family. as well.
Generational and family-like, and they treated you like family, and then the alumni treated you like family, and this whole beautiful generation of things.
I hope that wonderful community in Collegeville,
Yeah.
exit 156.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. I mean, not to get all wonky about it, but I also think that colleges are in trouble, and I don't know how we're going to decide who stays and who goes, but it's certainly going to change.
Which colleges?
College in general.
It is in trouble. I agree. My kids going into that world now, I don't exactly know what to tell them. I do think that the small liberal arts schools that are really good like that, though, are still wonderful spots.
Agreed.
But aside from that, they don't want to go $100,000 in debt
Sure.
with no certainty of what they're going to do.
Well, one thing I love on that topic for anyone watching, since the young demographic is going to be watching,
Yeah,
yeah, they're into
especially
it
all
now.
the college people in the MIAC conference. The transparency of compensation has been taboo for a long time, meaning that you weren't supposed to tell your coworkers what they made.
Oh,
you weren't
right.
You had to go to Glassdoor and sneak in a review of some companies so that you could see the dirt on other companies and find that out. The fact that that is less taboo and just smart to go know, what does my career path entail? You can now make a more sound decision of goofing off between the parent and the child, and the government, whoever's paying for it. You can make a rational decision of not going to class is a bad choice, but also choosing. Anyway, I love the transparency of seeing. You'd have to really twist that industry around for it to be able to pay for your debt acquired in going to this institution. So I think that's going to help.
Well,
But it's one aspect of
I
a
don't
very
know.
costly
We'll see. When we
institution.
went to I don't know. The
think it's
majority of
done.
people in my age group, and it was probably easier, but we had to fund a lot of our own education, right? And
Same here.
you sat down in a class and you knew how many dollars that class was costing you.
When you're paying for
when
part
you're
of it,
paying
yes.
for it, right? And when you're like, I worked 3 jobs. My dad did help me a little bit, but I worked 3 jobs just to pay rent and everything else. So then I think us as parents of people that struggled, we tried to provide for our kids.
Yes.
So they had,
Their tuition
they didn't have to work their butts off in college. And I think that creates a different dynamic.
It does.
creates a little bit of a problem,
Yes.
perhaps.
I do think maybe it creates a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're hesitant to say it because we
am.
don't want to lose our
18-year-old.
18 to 25-year-old.
Right. Well, if you have a chance to be in personal finance class in high school or sooner, do it. If you hadn't done it in high school, do it in college.
They don't teach that anymore, do they?
They still do in some high schools. Absolutely.
Well, that would be
some
smart.
really good high schools teach that. Yes. The discipline of money management in general, I think some institutions could use a lesson in how to go manage their own endowments.
Yep.
That's a longer conversation. But to dial that in, I got lucky to have math be my skill. Thank you, God, for that skill. But to be able to be fascinated by money, my inspiration for that, I've told my parents this story. Each night after we'd have family dinner together, and afterwards they would balance the checkbook. It was never
The two of them together?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
Absolutely, it was lovely.
Yeah.
Looking back upon it, it was the inspiring for me. I didn't want to have to do that. at the end of every meal.
Yeah.
To put it simply, there was a more profound, younger brain thinking about it that way. But I knew I wanted more money. And actually, there's a book that I got when I was just shy of junior high at the libraries. It was back in the 90s, early 90s. A book of the top 100 companies to work for. Now that's on so many different websites. But the book that I checked out, number 3 of companies to work for was Goldman Sachs. And it was the matrix that they had in it. They paid the second most, and I believe they were the 8th most loved to work for. And it's probably because they're second in pay that they were. Anyway, but I'm like, I wanted to go to Goldman Sachs. So I started at Piper Jaffray, interned there for 3 years during college, and then got a formal full-time job after graduation. But as I got recruited, and this is as the internet boom was happening, 97, 98, 99, everyone that could breathe that was in capital markets got recruited by a bigger firm offering more money. And I knew because of that book that I wanted Goldman Sachs. And I got blessed with that opportunity to go out and be a VP at Goldman Sachs, had a penthouse in New York. It was everything the childhood me had dreamed of. And still look back upon like, I'm so happy I got to have that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I was
kid,
always
no Ivy League school, no MBA, no JD. Gets hired as a VP at Goldman from the starts in Roseville, Minnesota.
So it's the power of just believing in that vision and seeing it and just knowing it's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah, love that. See, believe, achieve.
Oh, that'll be on bumper stickers, T-shirts. all
Yeah,
throughout.
see, believe, achieve.
You have a merch page? I'm sure. There you go.
she looked right at me. Like,
We will have
into
a
my
merch
soul.
page.
She's like, see it,
That's awesome.
believe it, and achieve it.
That's awesome.
Quit doing your thing, Sam. No.
I was bringing you into
yes.
the mantra with me.
Yes.
It was bringing you into the mantra.
Saw what I saw.
I'm lucky to be an audience for this. Is good.
It's just like I thought we could all find the vibes in see, believe, achieve. Anyway, okay, I'm curious.
Yes.
Should we?
What
where
time
are we at? I don't know.
Oh, are we halfway already?
Why don't you hand me that little boxy thing there?
Yeah.
Let's see what it says. Does it
Yeah. Oh,
say?
yeah, we're halfway.
Yeah. Well then,
Let's take a break. Let's take a break, and I'm
We'll come back
excited.
to
You
it.
know why?
Second half's always better.
The second half is always better. And I've been curious about this ever since you walked in the door.
right.
You have an idea. I know you do.
Yes.
And it's a good one. And I'm excited to know what it is.
Is it?
Yeah, I can tell by how excited he is about it.
If excitement were the measure of good,
No. I can.
I'm just
I'll
kidding.
tease you with watts are currency.
Watts our currency.
What's our currency?
Okay.
Not what's our currency.
Watts.
What's our currency?
Get it?
What's our currency? Oh my goodness! All right, so many words. All right, we'll
good.
take a
All
little
right, we'll
break.
take a break. Don't cry. It's over.
Oh, you did it. You made it to the very end of the show. You know what you can do to help us? What can they do to help us? They can tell their friends how awesome this show is.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
You know what else? And I don't know if people know this or don't know this, but like if you found us and you see us on socials somewhere, just hit repost or share it with your community.
Share, repost, follow. Isn't there a follow option?
Yeah,
of some
follow,
kind?
subscribe. We're not going to charge you anything.
No.
Just hit the subscribe button.
No,
It's
we
not gonna
just
hurt
need
you.
to create a community around entrepreneurism and how the real shit happens.
I like it. Well, because we're real. You said it in the intro.
Real.
We talk real. No, seriously, tell your friends. What a great show. Oh my gosh, these people are doing the best work ever. Yeah, right?
That's what you should say.
Yeah.
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 And just come back. Have fun with us. We love this.
We'll have someone, we'll interview someone cool next week too.
Someone completely different.
Yeah, from prison. Thanks.
We always have to add that.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.